2010 began with Beijing cutting military ties with Washington, and Google revealing it was the target of a highly sophisticated cyber attack that originated in China. Then in February, President Barack Obama met with the Dalai Lama, despite strong protests from Beijing, raising questions about whether Chinese President Hu Jintao would attend Mr. Obama's highly anticipated nuclear security summit in April. In the end, he did. Chung Lee of the Brookings Institution offers this description of U.S.-China relations.
It's a paradox of hope and fear, paradox of progress and the tremendous problems, paradox of confidence and the possible disaster.
And increasingly intertwined and becoming more complex. The two nations cooperated this year on alternative energy, but clashed over the value of China's currency and other trade disputes. Bonnie Glazer is with the research group CSIS in Washington.
I think that both sides have found it very difficult to manage the relationship and really keep the tone positive. And with Hu Jintao's visit coming up in January, really raises a big challenge for both countries.
The South China Sea, an area China claims as its own, became another point of contention. Washington offered to facilitate territorial disputes between China and its Southeast Asian neighbors. China angrily rejected the offer. 1 month later, Beijing announced it had sent a manned submarine to the bottom of the South China Sea, making China one of only a handful of countries to plumb such depths. Video of the voyage played live on state television. Glazer says the footage served as a reminder of China's swelling great power status.
The fact that the Chinese have the capability to do that is a signal to their neighbors that they are far more advanced than all of the other claimants, and that therefore those other countries should take that power imbalance into account when they talk with the Chinese about these issues.
China is virtually untouched by the global financial crisis, and it is increasingly more assertive in the international arena. Chung Lee of the Brookings Institution says both China and the United States are on a dangerous course, as concerns grow in both countries about the perceived threat each poses to the other.
When you think China's threat is real, and it will become real. And the same thing when you think U.S. Foreign policy is wanted to anti-China, contain China, sooner or later you will reinforce that kind of things, become real. So that's a danger.
Lee says what leaders in both countries need to do is face up to China's rise. And he warns that if misperceptions continue, the situation could get worse. Analysts note that as China's global influence grows, so does its international responsibilities. Sophie Richardson is the Asia Advocacy Director for Human Rights Watch.
The kind of progress that we've seen in China, infrastructure, economic, to some extent social freedoms, many of these are remarkable, and they're a clear choice on the part of the Chinese government. But there hasn't been a commensurate increase in basic civil and political rights, and that too is a very clear choice.
As China rises, so too do expectations of it, both at home and abroad. And that leaves China with a choice, analysts say, to either meet those expectations or to ignore them. William Ide, VOA News, Washington.